What's up, everybody? What's up, MGTOW? So today I wanted to talk about the whole Alex Jones thing with the whole place that shall not be named and his recent deposition that was posted online. Now, to me, the whole thing in general, just as a general topic, it really seems as though it's an attack on a very basic American principle. Not only just the principle of free speech itself, but an even more fundamental principle, even beyond political speech or religious speech, but the right to be wrong. Because, if a person can no longer make an incorrect statement in public, that's definitely infringing on freedom of speech. Now, saying that, I definitely do think that somebody that has millions of viewers and a nationally syndicated radio and TV show should put in a little bit extra effort in the due diligence side of things to make sure that they get their facts straight as much as possible. But on the other hand, it's pretty true what he said in the deposition, that there's tons and tons and tons of misleading and false information put out on the mainstream media daily. We all know about the weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist, and the babies in the incubators, and all types of other things that the mainstream media puts out that is completely false. And so the question really is if somebody takes an action based on false information, is it the person who's wrong's fault that that other person took action on that information? Maybe if it's for children or something, maybe an argument can be made. But if you're a fully grown adult and you're taking actions based purely off of information that you've received from one source on basically what amounts to be a TV show or a radio show for entertainment purposes mostly, but he does have a lot of true factual information in there as well. I just don't think that he should be blamed for that. And again, it's just a fundamental principle of America that you have the right to be wrong. You have the right to say something that's wrong. Really, if you look at it, it would break down the foundation of speech if people couldn't be wrong. Just take, for instance, anytime somebody's told a girl that, they would be doing better with them. Or what about every pizzeria in America? They'd have to reprint all their pizza boxes because saying, you've tried the rest, now try ours. It may or may not be slightly better or worse than the other guy. It just doesn't have the same ring as, you've tried the rest, now try the best. Or can I sue a toilet paper company when, their toilet paper isn't exactly as smooth and as soft as they said on the commercial with the cuddly bear? Really, when you think about it, it's a fundamental part of at least American speech is to make bold claims that are not backed up by any real measurable thing. Even take religion, for instance. According to every religion, every other religion is wrong. So how do we determine which religion is right if you can't talk about it because there's a possibility that you could be wrong about it? Or we could take another example based on taking actions off of what other people say without doing your own research. Say I have a channel and I'm 90% of the time I'm talking about DJing and sound engineering and stuff like that. But one of my other beliefs is that people can hold their breath underwater for an hour. And then you go out to the ocean and try to have a picnic underwater and then you drown and die, is that my fault? That one of my beliefs is that people can live underwater for an hour, and I've never even shown an ocean or a river or a cup of water in any of my videos, but then you go into the ocean and drown. I mean, I don't see how that could be my fault. Now, as far as the whole truth movement or the liberty movement or the Tea Party or whatever the hell we're calling conspiracy theorists these days goes, I just am a little disappointed in people's response to the current events that have been happening to Alex Jones. I mean, he's already been kicked off of every social media. They're trying to take his website down. His payment processors are blocked. And then you've got people in the quote-unquote truth community that just can't let it go. And I mean, it seems to me that a lot of it has to do with the fact that supposedly people that are all about truth, some of them are about views and they just like hearing the sound of their own voice just as much as Alex does. Because I mean, a lot of the criticisms that he received, I mean, the guy already covers, they're turning the frogs gay, they're taking your guns away, they're doing stuff to the kids. The Muslims already hate him. The illegal immigrants already hate him. The satanic pedophiles already hate him. So you want him to have the Jews on his back, the black people, and the Hispanics that were born in the United States, and the people that came here legally too. You want everybody to hate him? I mean, I think he covers a lot of stuff. And I mean, not for nothing, you guys wouldn't know what was going on in Bohemian Grove if it wasn't for Alex. Now, whether or not he's involved in it or not, that's a different story. But again, it's kind of like these people who are quote unquote investigative journalists who are blowing the lid wide open on Alex's affiliations and stuff like that. But then they're using clips from his nationally syndicated TV and radio show where he's outright admitting that, he has connections with the John Birch Society, CIA, high-level government officials, all types of other stuff like that. I mean, he's admitting it. He says, my father was John Birch, and, that's kind of how he got his start. Because, I mean, it's not every, 18, 20-year-old guy that knows about the New World Order and the technocracy takeover and stuff like that. It's not like he just pulled all this stuff out of his butt. But it's just interesting to see that people kind of want to kick him while he's down. And it definitely does seem like that's a big part of the problem with the quote-unquote truth movement in the first place, is that, anybody that disagrees with you, even though you disagree with everybody in society and think that everything's fake, which again is just a whole nother stupid thing, because if everything's fake, that means that you're fake. So why would I listen to you? Because if you're telling me that everything in the entire universe is fake, that would include you. And that means that you're also fake. So I don't know what the chances of that being true are, but maybe you can tell me there's a 1 in a billion, 1 in a trillion, that everything in the entire universe is fake, including you. I don't know. But to say that everything that Alex does is fake or set up or some type, I just don't buy into that. But like I was saying, realistically, this is kind of an important thing, not just for conspiracy people, but for everybody. Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure that once in your life, or maybe even twice, you've said something that was wrong. You said something that was incorrect, and you thought you had the facts right, and you thought you had the right information, and somebody came and said, well, hey, look, we've got more facts, we've got more information. And I mean, the guy, he backtracked on his statements. He said, he does think that something happened there and whatever. And I mean, you really can't blame anybody for believing in false flags. I mean, there is so much historical precedent for false flags. It's ridiculous. Almost if you don't believe that there's such a thing as a false flag, because it is a real thing. I mean, you got the Gulf of Tonkin, you got the Reichstag, the Bay of Pigs thing, the babies in the incubators, the weapons of mass destruction. They weren't there. You know, all those things are documented false flags that were used to start wars for the bankers and send basically innocent young men to kill other innocent young men in other countries. For what? So that the bankers can make money. And these are all documented things. These are all real things that really happened in history. So for somebody to be skeptical of the government, you know, I mean, look at the Tuskegee experiment. I mean, and then you wonder why people are skeptical of vaccines and doctors just, oh, well, I got to stick your kid with this. Why? Oh, because I'm wearing a lab coat. I mean, it's not, I mean, it's not far-fetched to be suspicious and skeptical of these things. And once you immerse yourself in it like Alex does, because he reports on it every day, and you see all the different things that different groups and the government are doing, yeah, you're going to become highly skeptical of everything. And I don't blame him. I mean, I'm pretty skeptical, and it's just interesting that people would, you know, kind of throw Alex under the bus when in reality, you know, he's taking the brunt of, you know, a lot of the, I guess, attacks, and, you know, a lot of people try to humiliate him and things like that. And he's still there doing his thing and talking about the satanic pedophiles and all that stuff. And yeah, sure, like I said, we're all wrong sometimes. Everybody's wrong sometimes. But should you be able to be sued for being wrong? Not for defaming somebody, not for, you know, slandering somebody, but just for being wrong. Because if that's the fact that now you can be sued for being wrong or saying the wrong thing, then freedom of speech is pretty much done for. Because, like I said, we're all people and we're all wrong sometimes. And as for the deposition itself, it does seem as though it was a setup in a sense. Because to me, it does seem a bit unethical. I mean, if you look at the end of the deposition, his lawyers definitely ask whether this will remain confidential. And they're like, yeah, it'll be confidential. And just from looking at the tone of the lawyers that were against him, you can kind of see that, at least from my perspective, that they had planned to put this out. Because the way that they just filmed him, I think, just from my perspective, it would have been more ethical if they had filmed all of them. They had filmed every single person in the deposition, including themselves. But the way that they just kind of put him on the hot seat like that and had the camera like basically zoomed in on his face while they're asking him these ridiculous questions over and over and over again. And the fact that, you know, he always says that people edit his work and take it out of context. And then they did just that. They edited a bunch of his videos together just using like 10-second clips and edited them all together and tried to say, well, you said this. It's like, well, I mean, if you edit anybody's work, somebody does 4 hours a day on radio, and then you take little snippets and clippets and whatever and edit it all together, you can make anybody sound crazy. So I think that in itself is unfair, and just the whole mannerism in which the attorneys were acting towards him, they were very rude, and, you know, you can kind of tell that they were planning on putting this out and that they have no remorse for him. And I mean, I guess you could say he doesn't care about the families of the people that were affected by that. So maybe that's fair enough. But to me, it just seems a bit of a violation of privacy. Now, whether legally it is or not is another question. But it does seem, to me at least, that it was pre-planned, that they pre-planned to post that on their website. Now, Whether that's true or not, I don't know. It's just a bit of speculation. So yeah, that's all I really had to say about that. Just that we really need to defend people's right to be wrong, to say the wrong thing, and to have the wrong information, which we can then discuss publicly and possibly exchange better information, more facts, more details. But if we can't even present an idea that may or may not be right, may or may not be wrong, based off of past actions of groups, organizations, individuals, then there is no such thing as speech anymore. There is no discussion. So yeah, that's all I got for this one. Have a good day and go MGTOW.